Damn near blew my ears out with the intro music. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Indiana Postgame Live, same channel, Indiana Hoosiers Live, Indiana at the Voice of College Football. Welcome back. If you caught the postgame instant thoughts video yesterday, I appreciate you guys. Back again today with a live recap. Hopefully, get into a little bit of a conversation about the game, about the feeling. Was supposed to have Brad with me. Brad is wherever Brad is, and we'll see if he ends up joining us. But yeah, Indiana Hoosiers week 1 is in the books. It wasn't the prettiest game against Old Dominion. Definitely, we were expecting bigger. Both Brad and I had score predictions, both in the 50s. Obviously, we're not seeing the first play from scrimmage happening. That was a little shell shocking to be completely honest. But after that, the boys locked in, settled down. It wasn't the cleanest game, but they still were able to get the job done. But yeah, it's just good to be back. I know there are a lot of things that were really frustrating about yesterday, and I'll kind of get into a little bit more of the specifics that I didn't cover in the instant recap. But just in terms of having Indiana football back, having the Hoosiers back, I mean, what more can you say? Like we saw the run game. The run game looked phenomenal. We saw a lot of like the natural Kurt Signetti qualities and things we've come to know and love from this football team. And so I'd say overall, definitely a positive experience. The crowd to start the game was awesome. Hoosier the Bison entrance was awesome. The Lee Corso stuff throughout the day was incredible. But yeah, obviously it wasn't perfect. It wasn't pretty. We'll get into a little bit of it. I have the snap count sitting in front of me. Yeah, I just want to talk about Kurt Signetti's press conference real quick though, because it's funny. I expected him to come in a little bit more upset than he was. Not that he wasn't upset. He was very adamant about the fact that he wasn't happy about the way they played, but it was almost like he was laughing coming up to the podium. Like I saw Jamie Jordan tweet something about this, and I kind of had the same takeaway. It was that it was obviously not a great game for Indiana, but it was a game they dominated really on both sides of the ball, and it was a pretty comfortable win, even though it was only 2 scores. So to have Signetti almost like not enjoy the way that his team struggled and the fact that he's going to be able to get on them and be on them and have a lot of teach film and stuff like that. And they were tested and pushed a little bit, but it wasn't really a scenario where like I never felt like at any point Indiana was in danger of losing that football game. It never got really to any type of late stage where I felt like ODU was able to like move the ball in a way where we weren't going to be able to stop them. Uh, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that are going to show up on film where like those guys are going to get grilled in practice this week. Like it's not going to be a fun week of practice. And I do kind of feel bad for Kennesaw State, but like if these are the games where you're coming out of and you're livid and you're frustrated and you're disappointed and they're double digit wins. Like I like this era of Indiana football we're living in. The other thing I thought was interesting from what Signetti said during his presser was about the punt return competition. He talked about Jonathan Brady's ability to make smart decisions with the football, high IQ, talked about his hands, but also talked about his ability to like play the ball inside the 10, kind of know what to do with the football, when to do it with the football from that position. Talked about that being a little bit different than kick return. Brady was electric. Um, but yeah, it was didn't get too much from Signetti's presser. Um, I thought we'd get maybe a Byron Baldwin mention or something, but we didn't get any questions about the injuries. So we'll be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I want to talk about the snap counts a little bit because I was kind of expecting a little bit of a deeper rotation, maybe a little bit more of the receivers rotating in on offense. But obviously, Surratt led the receivers in snaps. Omar Cooper right behind him. EJ Williams right behind those guys. And then there was a little bit of a gap between EJ, Jonathan Brady, Charlie Becker, and LeBron Bond. And Mekhi Jackson also got a single snap. Uh, Colorado Cougars says slightly better execution. That game is like 40 plus to 7, not an excuse, but still. No, that's completely correct. I said the same thing yesterday. Look at the Omar Cooper touchdown, like not touchdown, the long one. You look at the early red zone trip where they turned the ball over on downs, and then like you just look at it was just sloppy on offense, and they missed LeBron Bond on one. Like you could find points all over the field in this game, so I completely agree with that. Fat Boy says better to struggle now than later. We will fix our problems. No, I completely agree, and it's funny. I go back to we talk a lot about Indiana's schedule and they should do this, they should do that, but like watching Ohio State and Texas play and watching then Indiana play, it's like those programs, Texas and Ohio State, have been built for years and years and years. Like they're ready for these types of games. They have the depth, they have the just like national spotlight. They're used to it. Indiana, for as talented as this team is still a very new team. They have a lot of transfers. They need to mesh together. Having these early season games where you're not allowed to struggle because you never want to struggle, but where you can not have your best game and still try and fight through things and be able to figure it out and learn on the move, I think is extremely beneficial. So the fact that Indiana is not playing a Texas or even like a Utah to start off the year, they kind of have this ability to work their way into form. Like this is perfect example of this won't be the football team that we see in, late October, early November. This won't even be the football team we see in 4 weeks. But it was just nice to get them back on the field. But yeah, I thought it was interesting the wide receiver rotation. I thought we'd see a little bit more Mekhi Jackson, especially in the slot. I do want to pat myself on the back a little bit. I was pretty early on the fact that Omar Cooper was probably going to be the starting slot. If you looked at Indiana's wide receiver room, based on returning production alone, it was pretty clear that the most talented guys were Surratt Cooper and EJ Williams. EJ's biggest issue has been staying healthy. We know he was a Clemson college football playoff receiver back when he was like a freshman, sophomore. Had some really nice years or some really nice games in 2023 with the last Tom Allen team. Wasn't able to stay healthy last year, but he was open all day. I thought he had a really, really impressive performance. He looked great with the ball in his hands. He caught everything. And it was good to see him healthy. Like I thought that was really cool. But I thought we were going to see a couple more of the freshmen rotate in. Yeah, I thought LeBron Bond, Fat Boy's right. LeBron Bond's going to be a star. He looked phenomenal. You know what he looked? LeBron Bond looked comfortable. And I know he didn't have that many snaps. He took 8 snaps according to the doc Bite Size Bison has. But man, that dude looked like he like belonged on the field and looked like he'd been there before. It was impressive poise from the young freshman. And yeah, he's you could tell the defensive back, it had to be cover too because they threw the whole shot to him on the right side. But he blew away that boundary corner. Like the dude, he was by him before the guy even realized he was running. And so that's really exciting to see. It's like you can see some of these like timing routes or these like guys were open. Like Omar Cooper was wide open. LeBron Bond was open. Like these dudes were running open all day. So the offense clearly works. We know that. It's just about cleaning up these little timing things. That was another thing Signetti mentioned. Was watching Mendoza with a naked eye. It felt like he was just a little bit off. It was like it wasn't crisp. And the times that he was crisp and the ball was delivered on time, like the offense looked great. They were moving the ball, throws were quick. It was when he was maybe holding the ball a little bit too long, not sure maybe what he was looking at or trying to do a little bit too much with the football where they kind of found themselves getting in trouble. There was there was a drive or two where you did kind of see that his tendency to hold the football and take a couple sacks he probably shouldn't have. But at the same time, like I'd rather my quarterback go out and try and make a play. And learning now that that's maybe not a play you can make as opposed to when they're playing Illinois. I'd much prefer that. Colorado Kugel says he looked fast too, talking about LeBron Bond. It's one thing to show speed against high school teams, another show against a competent G5 team. 100% agree. And to go back on it, hard to show like speed against high school teams. Like if you go back and look at LeBron Bond's high school film, like this dude is putting yards and yards and yards of separation between him and the closest defender. So when you try and like project out speed, his speed plays through on tape. Like you can imagine, even if the guys around him get a little faster, he's still running away from these dudes. Fat Boy says, "I thought LeBron Bond was a transfer. That's how comfortable he looked." Yeah, he looked like he needs more snaps. Not that I know where to find him, but and I thought Charlie Becker getting involved was awesome. Obviously, we're huge Charlie Becker guys here on the channel. Love the work he does, especially on special teams. And it was nice to see him getting involved in the offense. He had 10 snaps as well. And the running backs, for as much talk as like I don't want to say anybody gave Signetti shit last year for saying they were going to use all 3 running backs and they only ended up using 2 of them. But we got all 3 of them. And if BB doesn't fumble, the snap count's probably a lot closer. It was where's Hemby here? Hemby had 48, Kalen Black had 31, and BB had 13, but he fumbled early. But all those dudes were running through truck-sized holes. The offensive line was phenomenal. Coogan was phenomenal. Smith was phenomenal. Lynch and Evans looked great. I thought Lynch and Evans, the fact that we weren't sitting here all game going, oh man, because of the injury scares they had. Lynch obviously had the boot on his foot for parts of this fall. Evans tore his Achilles last year. The fact that we're not sitting here talking about those guys being question marks or talking about Khalil Benson being a question mark on the right side of the offensive line is a really, really positive thing. Like this ODU defense is tricky. That 3-3 front is really tough. They have four really, really good linebackers who know how to tackle. And I know it's funny. There was this thing where like the ODU home books, they like give them 2, 3, 4 more tackles than they have or whatever it is, the home cooking they have there. But dude, those dudes are heat-seeking missiles. That they had a couple guys at linebacker that were really good, really strong tacklers. And like, the fact that Indiana was able to move the ball in between the 20s as well as they were gives me a lot of confidence moving forward. But the fact of the matter is, inside the 20s, it was ugly. Um, we'll get to that in a second. We'll talk about the defensive snap count real quick. I thought we were going to see more of a rotation on the defensive line. We got obviously a lot of Kamara, a lot of Wyatt. They both played 30 snaps. Stephen Daly played 17 snaps. I thought he looked great as well. I thought the defense, not that they struggled at any points, but I thought they shirred up a little bit when Mario Landino ended up playing that second tackle spot next to Wheeler. Not that I thought Ratcliffe had a bad game or Tucker had a bad game, uh, but it seemed like the best combination for Indiana's interior defensive line was Wheeler and Landino, at least early, which would kind of make sense. The Wheeler, super talented, Landino in the system, knows what he's doing already. I thought the defense outside of those two missed assignments, which like I don't know who has what, and you go into the film room for that one, right? Like the coaches will get that one figured out. But outside of that, like they didn't do much through the air. I think they completed like 2 or 3 passes, maybe. Uh, Farrell had a pick, Pons had a pick, uh, Roe Hardy was everywhere. I thought I want to shout out Bones Jones too. He played 23 snaps as like the swing linebacker. I thought Bones Jones was phenomenal. He looked like a dude shot out of a cannon. Like Fat Boy says bad reads, Wheeler on the first TD. Yeah, that was a massive hole in the middle of the field. But Bones Jones, I think it was the second or third drive um, after the big touchdown run, and he just came in and like lit up the running back who didn't even end up keeping the football, but just like took the kid off his feet. And I just thought it was a really nice tone setting play. Fat Boy saying Wyatt bad read on the second. Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, Colin Joseph, and I'll get into this back to the snap counts in a second, but Colton Joseph, that dude was electric. Holy hell. I didn't realize how fast he was. Like I knew he was like obviously the dual threat ability. Brad did a really good job covering the fact that he was going to be able to do some things on the ground. Obviously, we joke a lot about Jack Lausch on this channel and the what he was doing running around in the backfield at Northwestern last year. Uh, but when you play the style of defense, especially as aggressive as Indiana is and getting up the field, that was another part of the issue with that first touchdown run was they were so jacked up to go kill the football that they forgot where the football was. Like I don't anticipate those things happening all season long. That's a very like first play of the season. Like we're jacked up. They just dropped the buffalo from the or the buffalo. They just dropped the bison from the sky. Like we're fired up. We're gonna go kill the football type of play, and they just lost eye discipline. But that dude's really good. Not the most accurate thrower. Obviously, when Indiana was able to keep him in the pocket, the game changed significantly. They weren't worried about him beating them with his arm. But in terms of like being a threat to score from anywhere, yeah, that's gonna be a really fun team to watch. I'm curious to see how they do against like in games where they're not able to prep for 8 months and where they have to like play conference games. But that's definitely a team I'm going to be keeping my eye on. They were tricky for sure. I also thought we may have seen some of the younger guys rotate in on the secondary, but I think because of the trickiness of ODU's offense, that's why we saw the defensive rotation so tight. We didn't see a second cornerback. It was just Farrell, or it was just Pons and Jamari Sharp. We didn't see anyone rotate in at Rover or at safety either. It was just Farrell, Lewis Moore, and Boykin. I think my heart tells me or my mind tells me we would have gotten Byron Baldwin Jr. if he were healthy for this game. Again, haven't heard anything on that front. So if anybody's heard anything, even if it's through back channels, I haven't even heard anything like off the record type of stuff. So I'm hoping for the best there. But I think when you look at again the trickiness of ODU's offense, the fact that they were able to break such a big play early, I think that's probably why the defensive rotation was so tight because it's like we're not doing this all day. Like if you remember back to the end of the Nebraska game last year, Kamara had a big sack inside the 5 yard line, like backed up against the goal line. I think he ended up like it was a strip sack or maybe it was fourth down or something. But Signetti put the starters back in the game. He's like, this isn't happening. The starters never left the game in this game. There were no like the twos who played in this game earned their playing time based on merit. Like this wasn't a charity game by any means. Like this was one Indiana was taking very seriously, and they had the starters on the field the entire time. All right, let's talk about the red zone offense. I've been going back and forth in this one for like, I don't know, 24 hours, 12 hours, however long it's been since the game ended. My I, my thought is that Indiana purposefully kept the playbook bland because of the fact that it was week one. At the same time, they felt like, and honestly, they were right. Like they felt like their offensive line was bigger. They were going to be able to move guys out of the way, and we'll just shove the ball into the end zone. And for whatever reason, that just wasn't happening. Uh, I don't know how many times they ran the ball inside the 5 yard line. It had to be 10 times. I'm not sure they gained 5 yards total. I don't know where the push went. I don't know if ODU was just bringing too many people. If those like the again those linebackers are really good at finding holes and getting through the offensive line. But yeah, that was definitely something to be a little bit nervous about. Like you, with the way Indiana was pushing them around, you rush for 300 yards. You'd like to think you'd just be able to pound that in the end zone. I'd also like to think that maybe Lee Beebe's getting some of those goal line carries if he doesn't fumble early. And he's a little bit of a bigger back to get that ball in the end zone than Hemby or Black is. But even just like we saw Mendoza's mobility, like I don't think we had, if we had a designed run last year, it may have been one for Curtis Work. Obviously, he's playing with the injury, but we saw Mendoza get out on the move. The fact that we didn't see any like bootlegs or any type of like rub routes or pick plays or they tried the one to Nowakowski. The ball was thrown a little bit too far to the inside, but um, shocking lack of creativity inside the red zone from Shanahan, which I feel like had to be part of the plan because I've watched this offense operate in the red zone. I know the creativity they play with. Like I know they run bubble motions and bring guys across the formation and run these tunnel screens. And like I could see these touchdowns being replayed in my head last year, like screens to Miles Price and Horton doing dirty work on the goal line, things like that. And there was really none of that. It was smash mouth football. We're going to line up and try and run it down your throat. And they weren't able to have success when they needed those 2-3 yards. Um, Not something I feel like is going to be a season long concern. The deeper we get into the season, the more open the playbook's going to be. They're not going to be trying to hide some things. Like I would be stunned if we don't get a Mendoza naked boot at some point in the red zone, right? Like so. This is where Fatboy says this is where we miss Tino. I don't know if I can just say this is like a Chandler Whitmer like problem. Like this is Kurt Cignetti's offense. This is Mike Shanahan's offense. These guys were calling plays last year. They were calling plays at James Madison. Obviously, Tino's phenomenal, great coach, great quarterback coach. But I don't like the issues inside the red zone. I feel like we're more just play call based and not personnel based. Um, I thought the defense was unreal. Obviously, the first play, not good, but other than that, I think if you combine the two long runs for 140, 150 yards that he ran for on those two plays, I'm not sure they had 150 total yards the rest of the game. Uh, take away those two missed assignments, and this defense was everything we wanted it to be and more. Like if this is the way Indiana's defense is going to play all year, and they can kind of limit those assignment football mistakes, yeah, they're going to be a very, very good football team, a very good defense. They're going to turn the ball over like that. They're going to stop the run like that. Um, yeah, they're going to be really, really hard to beat. I would like to see, obviously, the snap counts for the twos increase. We have depth has been called an issue. I think it's more just inexperience. I'd like to see a lot of those guys get playing time. Maybe somebody like Seonta Stewart, somebody like Jalen Hollywood Bell, maybe somebody like Paul Nelson, maybe somebody like Kyler Garcia or Tyrone Burris or Tristan Abram, somebody on the edge or something like that. Just like see what these young guys have, see if they've got a little bit of juice to add. Because the one thing that would, and I'll say this and I'll add the caveat. The one thing, real major thing that was lacking from this game was pressure on the quarterback. We talk about Mikal Kamara, and maybe people look at this game and be like, well, he didn't have a good game. He didn't have a sack. So I don't know. Maybe you don't know what his assignments were because they were dealing with a quarterback who could take the ball and put it in the end zone from 75 yards out. So you really had to be gap focused and play very disciplined football. So I think the fact that they weren't like pinning the ears back at after the quarterback was more so a factor of the game plan. Keep this guy in the pocket, make him beat you with his arm because we saw what happened when he was able to get out. So that's honestly one thing I'm definitely not worried about. I don't think Mikhail Kamara forgot how to rush the passer. I don't think Stephen Daly forgot how to rush the passer either. I don't think Wheeler forgot how to rust. Like I think these guys are going to be able to get after it. I just think it was game plan specific. Yeah, Colorado Kugel says I do think some of that has to do with playing discipline due to his legs. 100%, 100%. Because you saw what happened the two times they got undisciplined. He burned them. Yeah, the offense, the run game was phenomenal. Run game was absolutely phenomenal. Roman Hemby, oh my goodness, that dude's phenomenal. Like the fact that he was stuck at Maryland last year with this ability is absolutely insane. The way he was gliding through holes, galloping over people, sliding through tackles. He was playing as fast as anybody on the field, but was seeing things in slow motion. It felt like it was like I talked about Mendoza being an adult and how comforting it is having somebody who's not going to panic seeing something. Having the ball in Roman Hemby's hands is just calming. Like, the guy's gonna make a good move. He's gonna find the right hole. He's gonna put his foot down and accelerate. He's not afraid of contact. Uh, he's a complete football player. He really is. We saw a screen to the running back. I don't know if we saw one of those at all last year, but I thought Hemby was phenomenal. Obviously, talked about Kalen Black yesterday. I thought he was phenomenal as well. So nice to see him get like be in the game, be contributing, get like 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever his carry numbers ended up being. Just a kid like that for him, for as much as he means for the locker room, it was really cool to see that. The passing game, I was a little surprised it wasn't crisper. And obviously, I'm not alone in that sentiment. I think everybody wanted it to look a little better, but I just think based on the amount of time we've heard Mendoza's been putting in with the receivers, you'd like to think that chemistry would have been a little bit better. Obviously, it looks a lot better if Omar Cooper catches that long touchdown. Um, but I think Surratt had 3 catches maybe, and one of them came on the flea flicker, like the last passing attempt of the game, like 2 minutes left. There was a flea flicker crosser to Surratt. I would like to see our Big Ten receiver get involved a little bit more. If he's chasing 1,000 yards, this definitely isn't going to help. Obviously, if EJ Williams is going to be open all day like he was, keep getting him the ball. And then I thought Nowakowski looked phenomenal. Noah, for a guy who we didn't think was going to be able to catch the football, or somebody who we thought was going to be more of an inline H-back blocking type tight end, learning more of his journey that he started as a running back, moved to linebacker because he felt like he was getting pushed out of the room, moved from linebacker because he felt like he was getting pushed out of the room, and kind of found his home at tight end as this jack of all trades guy. Makes Kurt Cignetti's comments about him in the preseason make a little bit more sense, talking about him being a lunch pail guy, loving the way he comes to work and doing the things he does every day. Seeing his involvement in the offense after those comments made a lot more sense. But I thought he looked phenomenal, doing all things, blocking, catching the ball, running routes, being a teammate, all that good stuff. I want to shout out Clay Connor on that the punt return from Jonathan Brady. He had a nice box out block, didn't get a penalty to spring Brady on that initial burst. Clay Connor, member of the 2020, I don't remember what I titled the article on keysportsnetwork.com, but I wrote like hidden gems on the 2024 Hoosiers, and he was one of them. So that was cool to see him out there doing things. The special teams look great. Brendan Frankie is phenomenal as the kickoff specialist. Like, not having to worry about somebody taking back a kick like at all this year, it seems like at home at least, and we'll see what happens with the wind when it gets a little colder and what happens at some of these away stadiums and where these kicks end up going. But you just start the opponent on the 25 every time, like I'm with it. Like that works for me, and that works for Sig and Haynes, and those guys love that. Like that is, he was money. He was electric all day. The kicks went to the exact same spot every time, and none of them were returnable. It was yeah, that's exactly why you go and bring that kid in, is for that production right there. I thought that was great. And yeah, Grant Kane's unit, A plus plus. Obviously, people wanted Radich to go out and kick the 52-yarder. It came out early last week. This week, I can't remember what it was. If like that, the tip top of his range was 52. So people were like, he's got to go hit it. I don't know. I don't hate it. That like the kicker with the big leg, go out and try and make the big kick. He hit it off the crossbar. So if he's kicking it farther than Radich, then Radich wasn't going to make it. So I don't have any problems with that. Colorado Kugel says thoughts on Hemby and BB being on kickoff return duty. I love it. I actually think running back is the perfect position to be the kickoff return specialist, because what do you get the ball in your hand and then you're like setting up blocks and running with the football. Like that's what a running back does. And you have obviously a good one who's able to pick up like holes quickly and analyze and dissect where to go. Like I think we see Roman Hemby take one back. I do. I think BB's capable too. I think I don't know if he's got the burst, but he's definitely to bring down. But no, I really like that. I think it makes it hard to kick to those guys because you know that even if you have good coverage, those dudes are able to set up blocks and create holes that weren't there. Um, I liked it a lot. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if we saw Mekhi Jackson working back there next to Hemby. We'll see kind of the burst BB ends up working with. But BB as a blocker, BB on the Jonathan Brady punt return was sprinted his ass downfield to get a key lead block to bring Brady into the end zone. Um, so yeah, I thought special teams was awesome. I enjoyed what they did. I saw Utzinger out there, Becker was out there. Um, I'll have to go back and look at the lineup to see who else was on kickoff. But I know I thought those units were great. I thought Grant Kane did a phenomenal job. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed the running backs being back there because I think one, they're going to catch the football. Both guys are phenomenal receivers, and then they know what to do with it when the ball's in their hands. Um, I want to talk about the game plan real quick. Not that I thought it was like I thought the game plan was fine. It was funny to hear Sig lament it in his presser. I think if your plan is to not open up your offensive playbook and just lean on somebody and just win with being bigger and more physical, then that like you live and die with that going into the game. Like you know you're going to be the bigger, more physical team. You know you're going to be able to push them around on the offensive line. You know when push comes to shove, you can drop back, run hard play action, and run Omar Cooper or run LeBron Bond or run EJ Williams or Surratt down the field and probably have a big play. So I don't have a problem with the fact they were like, we're just going to run the ball 25 times and see what happens. I think if you saw the game get a little tighter, you may have seen the playbook expand a little bit, but um, I wasn't as upset with the game plan maybe as I guess I should be, given the fact that we thought they were going to score a bunch of points, but like they were out there, like the points were out there. It's not that the it was just the execution wasn't perfect, and this game is going to draw a lot of parallels to FIU. This was a much more dominant win than that FIU win. Like they ran for 230 yards in that game. I was thrilled. They ran for over 300 today. Like, I, if your takeaways from the FIU game last year were I'm in a mass panic, then like I can't blame you for having the same takeaway from this game. But I didn't see anything from this past game plan wise, personnel wise, that changes the way I feel about this team. But like I said, areas for concern, pass rush, definitely not an area of concern for me. If we go 2, 3 more weeks and this team doesn't have or has like one sack in the next couple games or whatever, we're having a different conversation going into Illinois. Don't think that's going to be an issue. Assignment football, the two reasons why Indiana gave up those long touchdowns, I can't imagine that being a season-long issue for Bryant Haynes and Kurt Signetti. I would actually go as far as to say that won't be a season-long issue for Bryant Haynes or Kurt Signetti. They'll get burned by physical play before they get burned by mental errors like that consistently. So I definitely wouldn't be concerned about that. Slightly concerned about the timing of the receivers and the fact that the passing game wasn't completely clicking. Although I say that to say against FIU last year, we were saying a lot of the same things. It's hard when you have transfer quarterback who's used to getting hit as soon as he catches the football, and now he's got 5.5 seconds to throw on average. It's just a little bit of a different thing he's got to get used to. The more games they play together, the better it's going to get. And the fact that they have 2 games in their schedule where they can out physical guys and get wins without, I don't want to say without trying, because you have to try in every game, but they're significantly better football teams than the teams they're playing over the next 2 weeks, and that gives you the opportunity to work on some things. Um, and then I just wrote football politics as an area for concern, mainly based off the fact that because of Indiana's brand perception, they have to play this perception game. Signetti does a phenomenal job of positioning where Indiana should be in the media. But the fact of the matter is, a performance like this against ODU, regardless of how well they ran the ball, regardless of how well the defense played, people are going to look at the final score and they're going to look at the fact that ODU led for like 5 minutes. They're going to be like, oh, I guess Indiana is not very good, and that's just like it is what it is. The fact of the matter is, none of this stuff matters. ESPN's FBI came out and it was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Texas lost game one. They're still number one. There's like 12 SEC teams in there. I don't know. But it's just none of that matters until the end of the season. Obviously, these football teams are going to look drastically different in November than they do in August. So I would just try not to get too wrapped up in the football politics game. This is the part of Indiana's schedule where we know they were going to fall behind a little bit, which is why it fall behind in terms of public perception, which is why it was so important to position them so aggressively in the offseason, because when the public starts to drag them back down based on perception, they're pulling them a lot. Like they're staying a lot higher up on the list than they normally would have. So I feel like Indiana did a good job of that in the offseason, positioning themselves as a team that should be taken seriously and is going to be in contention for a college football playoff when push comes to shove. And it all comes again, September 20th is a big football game, will be a big football game. That didn't change. Anybody got any takeaways I missed from the football game? Anything you think I should touch on? I know that we got kind of a quick turnaround. We'll have a video coming out on the channel tomorrow, and then we'll be back live Tuesday night to preview Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State almost knocked off Wake Forest. I don't know if that's going to say more about Wake Forest than it does about Kennesaw State, but I would hate to be them next week. But we'll have Brad back on Tuesday night, and we'll get things rolling for the season. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Indiana at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. Appreciate you guys for helping us reach 500 subscribers. We're pushing towards our next goal. We're looking for 1,000. So that's the goal. Follow me on Twitter at Alec Keyser. Follow the show at Indiana VOCFB. Follow the Voice of College Football at the VOCFB. Check out VOCFB.com. I'll have an article dropping this week. We've got merch too. VOCFB.com/shop. Check out the Indiana stuff. We got some dope stuff on there. We got some more stuff coming as well. The Omar Cooper Jr. Mossing Tour 2025 officially touched down in Bloomington. The Indiana Hoosiers are back. It's good to be back. We'll see you guys on Tuesday night. Appreciate you hanging out.